Rolling.
Stand all alone on the cliffs of the
Greetings, humans.
Greetings,
Welcome
humans.
back to another episode of Mike and Dave's Multiverse. How you doing this evening, Dave?
I'm all right, man. Had a good day. What did I do today? I made 2 shorts. I made the thumbnail for this. I mowed
Nice.
my backyard and my front yard, but then I couldn't find my leaf blower because my father-in-law stole it. So there's a bunch of, he didn't steal it, he just borrowed it, but there's grass everywhere, so I got to take care of that tomorrow. But I got a lot of good sun. It was a good day, and I felt productive. How about yourself?
That's good. That sounds great. Shoot, I slept kind of late today. Of course, we'll be covering our trip on today's show, but without getting into the details just yet, I'm still in Pacific time a little bit, staying up late and sleeping late. I'm caught up on sleep now, but I stayed up late again last night because I didn't feel tired. So it's all good, though.
Yeah, well, we were in Pacific time for 5 nights, and then the 6th night we were delayed in Salt Lake City and did not get back to my house until 5 in the morning. So
That's
what
what threw
happens.
me for the loop. Because then Tuesday I was super tired, and then yesterday, Wednesday, I woke up feeling well rested, and after feeling well rested, I didn't want to go to bed early, so I stayed up super late last night. It's all good though.
Yeah, it is. It's all good in the hood. So we had a little technical delay. This has been happening lately. It's happened 2 times since I switched to stupid Xfinity, but I get a notification that my internet's out like on Thursday, an hour before we're supposed to go live. And both times it came back on like right before or right after. This time it came back on 10 minutes before we were going live. So sorry about that. Sorry about the confusion. We do got 5 people watching right now. So if you are in the chat, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from on planet Earth right now. We know there's some weird stuff going on in politics right now, like literally right now, and we're not going to talk about it.
Don't
That's
think
the
about
plan.
it either.
Yes, exactly. So hopefully this
It's
is a
all
little
good.
bit of a respite from that.
At least you did get the text message saying your internet was going to be out, and it sounds like it actually came back on sooner than they originally had texted you. They said it would be 7 p.m. So we appreciate the audience for dealing with a slight delay this evening.
Correct. So yeah, we spent all weekend and half of last week in the desert. Palm Springs. What'd you think of the desert, Mike?
The desert, it's nice and dry out there and sunny, but after about 2 days, I realized, staying out in the desert for like a whole year, I would miss the rain. I do like a rainstorm from time to time. And of course, this is the rainy season where we're at now in Georgia, sort of that late spring, early summer. It starts raining every day for a little while. Um, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But it was nice to see the desert scenery, nice to see the desert wildlife. We have some pictures we're going to show you from a national park, as well as people that we met at the conference we were attending.
Yeah, Contact in the Desert. Contact in the Desert. My first UFO conference, Mike's first UFO conference. As you guys know, we do cover the UAP, UFO phenomenon occasionally on this show. We just like to know what's going on in the universe, and something's going on. I can tell you that much. But that conference didn't enlighten anything for me. I'll tell you that. We'll get to that part though.
It was a cool conference. It was neat to get to see and meet speakers, researchers, authors, filmmakers who we're already familiar with. We're already familiar with their work. It's nice to see them in person. Make a few new friends as well. Heck
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I did want to say shout out to any new subscribers that we have. If you're watching for your first time, this is Mike and Dave's Multiverse. We do mostly weekly live stream on Thursdays at 6, but that's going to change in the fall due to some scheduling stuff that Mike and I have coming up. We also have a interview series we release Fridays at 6 p.m. That's been pretty consistent. I don't think we've missed one in 8 or 9 months, but we may eventually. Who knows? We've also got our Cosmic Monday series. The last Cosmic Monday is dropping on this Monday, and then we're going to do a compilation of all the best interviews. And I actually think that's a good time for us to mention we did interview Robert Schock and his wife, Catherine Ulysses. Unfortunately, there was a technical audio glitch that could not be overcome in editing, but we are able to use portions of it in a mashup we're going to make, a mashup basically of all the Cosmic Monday episodes that we released. So we're at least excited about that. It was a bit disappointing, but it's part of the game, right, Mike?
It is, and Cosmic Zone, of course, is at the end of this month, so a few more preview videos. Hello to Sean. Sean just hopped in the chat. What's up, Sean Tester? How was the desert? Shoot, we had a good time. We had a great time.
We did. We had a great time. We didn't spend too much money. That was the trick because we're on a budget. So the trick was not to spend too much money. Mike and I really worked together as a team to do so. We got to go to Joshua Tree National Park. We'll also show you a few pictures we took from out there. That was Mike's first time.
And share the pictures of that, because that's really what we did the day before the conference. After we got to town, we did our sightseeing. We rented a car just for one day so we could get groceries and go see the national park. Since after that, we were going to be hanging out at the conference hotel.
Yeah, it was about a 5 or 6 hour day driving from one side of the park to the other. I've been there a bunch before. Mike had not. So, and Mike got, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I wanted to start things off with a bit of trivia. So I swapped out the introductory song today for one of my old favorites by a band named Caius, who released an album in 1994 called Welcome to Sky Valley. Now, I was a little 3-year-old at that time. I didn't learn about these guys until like I was in high school in like the 2000s and stuff. But some classic rocking desert tunes. And on the way to Joshua Tree National Park, clicking the right thing, I got to see the famous sign that they used for their album cover. So a bit of an obscure pilgrimage, but a good rock and roll pilgrimage nonetheless for one of my all-time faves. I kind of tried to emulate their sound on my guitar amplifier. So that was pretty neat.
So was that them you were playing in the intro there? I was like trying to figure that out.
Yes, and the song was aptly named Space Cadet, this one that was playing with the acoustic guitar at the beginning. So the outer space theme and the desert theme, it's all good. Here's a picture of us at the entrance to the park.
Yes. That's probably the third picture of me next to that park. I love this. Is my favorite place in the world, guys. We did not get to. It's because of the stars, but we did not get to go at night, unfortunately.
Yep. There's Dave and I standing by a tree, and this was pretty cool. The Cholla Cactus Garden. These Cholla cacti are just fascinating to watch. Look at.
Yeah, you can walk through a little maze to get through them. I think it's the only place in the world you can find those guys. So pretty cool.
Close up view.
Yeah.
Last. Hey, and there's our friend Myron. So the next segment, I can wait, or we can go through them. All the rest of the pictures.
No, let's wait. Let's get into contact here in a minute. But yeah, we're excited to tell you guys about the folks that we met at Contact in the Desert. I wanted to, I guess, just show you guys what we got coming up tomorrow and on Monday for interviews dropping. We'll do solar weather, space segment, then polish off with Contact in the Desert. What do you think, Mike?
Sounds good.
Okay. So tomorrow, I'm really excited about the episode dropping featuring Cody of East 10 Outpost. He's a new friend of the show. He's got a great channel. Brittany, if you could find that channel and drop it in the chat, East 10 Outpost on YouTube and on X. Give him a follow. He does a lot of really great content with history, geology, archaeology, and quote unquote alt history. I'm just going to show you guys a quick short of that.
We had fun sitting down on a Saturday afternoon to do the interview with him. It feels like a long time ago now. It was maybe about a month ago. But,
yeah, it's because we got so far ahead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we had fun sitting. What's interesting though is this is what happens on our show. We didn't end up talking a whole lot about ancient alt history or anything like that. We just ended up talking about life, learning a lot more about Cody personally. And I just want to thank Cody for sharing his personal story with us. We did talk a lot of history related stuff and stuff that's going on in that world as well. But that's what our show's about. We want to show you guys the person behind the work. And here's a little clip of Cody from East 10 Outpost.
Well, I think it's important if we could just say that's an important thing to do, to be a little bit silly sometimes, because humor's the great equalizer, right? We don't need to take ourselves too seriously. That's when the world sucks. So it's funny sometimes the comments I'll get that are like legitimately casting shade, like in the fraudulent archaeology wall of shame.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People take me so seriously in there, and oh boy, do I get off on that. I get such a rise out of the fact that they are taking a freaking sepia toned. I wear gauntlets on my arms with knives tucked into them like I'm Percy Fawcett or Rick O'Connell. Like I've got Rick O'Connell freaking suspenders over my shoulder. It's hilarious to me that somebody would.
So that was a fun interview, and the big news really is Cody's going to be on Matt Bell Limitless, I think next week. I don't know if that's like 100% set in stone, but it's kind of cool that he goes on our show and then goes on such a big show right afterwards. I'm like,
very cool, Cody. Congrats for scoring the Matt Bell interview, and we look forward to hanging out with you and making content in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if he's coming to. No, I don't think he is coming to Cosmic Summit. But he has this dream of being the host at Cosmic Summit, and I think he would just do an outstanding job at that. I don't know about you, Mike, but I think he'll crush that.
And that short clip does a good job of highlighting the need to have a little bit of humor in everything that you do, and know just how seriously enough to take things, but not too seriously.
For sure. And what's interesting, I won't blow the whole story, but that's not how Cody started in the world of like online performing. He had to kind of evolve to get there, and that's why the human story behind all this stuff is fun for me. Monday, our last Cosmic Monday before we release the mashup before the week after, is with Mr. Chris Cottrell, which will be his third time speaking at Cosmic Summit, but he won't be speaking this time. He'll be on a panel one of the days. The last 2 times he spoke about the thing that he's famous for, which is the Carolina Bays. Mike, do you want to just say what the Carolina Bays are real quick?
Oh, shoot. I don't have the elevator speech on the top of my head, but I'll improvise here.
Yes, go for it.
Elliptical depressions, basically elliptical depressions across the land, across the United States. And there's a pattern to the orientation that makes it look like evidence of a cosmic impact. In the remote past, though, we're talking not quite Younger Dryas candidates. The geological evidence indicates that this was much further in the remote past. But it gives some insight into some tumultuous chapter of planet Earth's history that would have caused this. Like maybe there were massive chunks of ice that got ejected and landed far out, and then that gouged out the land, and then the ice melted and formed lakes or something. I don't know 100%. But our chat with Chris Cottrell will shed some light on these.
Yeah, and actually that was a killer elevator speech, Mike. I threw you under the bus there, and you recovered nicely. So that was
what's cool is
pretty good.
As we've been doing this show and digging into all these topics, of course, like when you think ancient history, the first things you think of are Egypt and Turkey and all that. There's stuff all around us. So we got into Native American culture and the mound builders towards the beginning of this show. These Carolina Bays are another like local geologic formation that I think would be cool to go visit a couple, survey the land ourselves.
Correct. According to Chris, like people live in them, drive over them every day, and have no idea that they're there. They're relatively shallow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but this is Chris talking about the origins of the Cosmic Summit. So let's go ahead and check that out. Just a quick short. Had to throw these together on short notice today, so not my best work.
Now that we know
that's wrong.
The scale of things that
guys.
can happen.
Yep.
Is that sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It was a proof of concept, and I think we nailed it. I think it was better than expected. I think we had I know that I had a great time. It was a little tighter. We had fewer speakers. We had one stage. But it was, I didn't want to leave. Like I was just there the whole time. I spoke, and I was super nervous, but when everybody else got on and started talking, I was just like, right front row, just, so.
Yeah, we didn't go to the first one. Mike and I actually met at last year's.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but we met at last year's. And so what was the big difference between the year one and year two besides just like size? Was there anything significantly different, or just the same concept, just more people? Sorry that cut off there, but just a little teaser into the conversation, because we got into, he's been OG of Cosmic Summit, so he's been there since the beginning. So he talked to us all about what the first year was, the second year was, and how this thing's been growing and catching on, and talking about what George Howard, the promoter, has built over the last 3 years. So
it was a really cool show, and I hope we collaborate more in the future. Chris is a really cool science teacher and lives in the state of Georgia, further south from me and Dave, but not too far away in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, what's weird about this multiverse thing is that we've been like meeting a lot of people from Georgia, like just with the show. So Sarah, who just started a podcast with Jacqueline, which is Universe Unveiled. Check them out. They did an interview with Scott Wolter yesterday, and they dropped an official challenge for somebody to debate Scott Wolter on the Kensington Runestone. So check them out. But she's from Georgia. Tyrone Ellington, who's like an OG of the multiverse. He's like one of our first guests, if not our second. He's from Georgia. Chris Cottrell's from Georgia. We interviewed Randall Carlson, who lives in Georgia. So small world.
Heck yeah. Hey, that randomly just reminded me, shout out to anybody that's watching on the platform Twitch. We have branched out into a new platform this evening. It's a first for us. We swapped out Instagram for Twitch on our live stream lineup. So Proud to be broadcasting for you.
Yep. So now we're on Facebook, X, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble Live. And you can find our podcast, which is our interviews, on Spotify, Rumble, and YouTube. Lots of new subscribers, literally like 500 new subscribers in the last 6 weeks. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Welcome. And shout out to our old subscribers and everyone who has supported the show, whether through a couple of people bought books through our Amazon Book of the Month program. It's a good way to support the show. Also, we've got a couple of monthly subscribers. Shout out Jim Fry and whoever else the other person is, but thank you so much. Yeah, was there anything else, any other way to support the show before we get into the solar weather and space
Pat
segments?
Breeze. What's up, Pat Breeze? Thanks for joining the chat.
Pat Breeze is always up in the chat. I love Pat Breeze. He's always sending us stuff on Instagram too. He sent us something recently, but I didn't get a chance to pull it up for the show. I'll show it next week, Pat. I'll show it next week. Via Hemp Products. Yeah.
Via.com, buymeacoffee.com, Amazon.com, GalaxyTreats.com. The list goes on and on and on. We're really not trying to be a bunch of advertising meisters, but we figured we'd dabble in a few sponsorships and see if you follow the links, it'll help us out. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and you can find all that stuff below somewhere in the description. Brittany, producer, puts everything in there. So yeah, very cool. And while we were at contact in the desert, the sun was up to some weird stuff. Huh?
There was a whole solar flare. It actually happened really around the 31st. Go ahead and screen share and show this. Solar flare. Let's see, the 31st going into the 1st, that would have been Saturday. Friday and Saturday. Let's play this.
We were in the desert at this time.
Yep.
Let's turn that down just a tad. And we kept thinking we were gonna maybe feel some of the something.
It was a coronal mass ejection, so there was like a proton wave that hit the Earth. Pull the graphs up, but I couldn't really feel.
No. People at the summit not the summit, at the contact in the desert. They were like all talking about it as if it was like some kind of synchronicity. The word synchronicity came up a lot.
Aurora picture. This is from Vancouver Island over in British Columbia.
Oh wow.
Or no. Sorry, this was from Alberta. Sorry, read the wrong sentence. But that was auroral activity on June the 1st. Ended up qualifying as a severe solar storm. And I'll just show the 7-day graph so you can see really the solar activity was pretty heavy when that coronal mass ejection finally caught up to the Earth on the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd. So that would have affected us a little bit while we were flying back. The main thing that affected us, though, was the flight getting delayed 3.5 hours. I don't know if that had to do with it.
Maybe it did. Who knows?
Who knows? And
Pat, I will make one just for you, buddy. I'll make an OnlyFans just for you.
So, if you saw any cool aurora pictures over the weekend, that's great. Share them with us. I didn't pull up a whole bunch of aurora pictures because, we were busy. We were busy at contacting in the desert. Solar weather is back to quiet today. The coronal hole is facing the Earth, which sometimes results in a higher velocity solar wind, but typically not a mass flow with the protons and stuff. So you can see the aurora forecast for tonight is pretty low. So things are back to quiet, but we'll continue to keep an eye on the sun.
Sweet.
Wanted to share a quick article. Go ahead, Dave. You had something?
I was just gonna comment about the sun. This is based off of our last live stream. We were talking about, is the sun burning hotter? Is it making? Is it yellow? Is the sky not blue? I was outside all afternoon. I did not get burnt. I did not have a shirt on. The sky was yellow. The sun was yellow and the sky was blue. That's all I wanted to say. Still reporting from Georgia.
And we're glad that it is. And the rain is still wet. It already rained a little bit. Actually, we saw a little bit of rain. Was it Sunday? Yeah, it must have been Sunday.
In the desert, yeah.
It rained a little bit in the desert, so that's a slim chance. It was a synchronicity.
Yes, synchronicity.
I just wanted to throw up an article real quick that my Aunt Sissy sent to me. Shout out if you're watching the show, Aunt Sissy. This is about a second sound. The physicists have captured heat moving through this molecular arrangement, and heat behaves like a wave and bouncing around. And they, to be honest, this was kind of totally over my head, but it was fascinating that they could do this. An exotic superfluid state of cold lithium-6 atoms. So we're like getting into superconductive or super cold territory, and they were able to map heat moving as a wave. So, isn't that wild? You got to mute, Dave. You got to mute. Did you
What's your
guys
aunt's
get
name?
Aunt Sissy?
Oh, good shout out to Aunt Sissy. I was talking about Jimmy Church. No, we didn't. We did see him everywhere though.
We saw him a bunch.
We saw him a bunch of times, but he was always like talking to like 3 or 4 people at the same time. We did not go see him speak either. But it wasn't because we didn't want to. It was just because how things panned out. And we'll get to kind of how that works at Contact in the Desert here after we do a quick space segment, which will lead into Contact in the Desert.
Yep, that's all I had for articles. Just little
Nice.
quick hits.
Yeah, quick hits today, guys. We got home like 2 days ago and are barely recovered. So, but we wanted to bring this Contact in the Desert report directly to you guys. So, really quick, I'm going to show something. I like to think about the cosmic perspective a lot, like what makes us so big and so small at the same time, and because we are both big and small at the same time in this universe. And so let's check this out. It's just a cool little graphic of distances to some galaxies from the Milky Way. 1 light year equals 9.5 trillion kilometers. So with that in mind, let's check this 49-second video out. Was that last one 1 billion?
I think so. That was a really cool animation.
It was. I've seen Messier 32, the Andromeda, the large metallic Magellanic Cloud, and the small, I don't even know how to say Magellanic Cloud, in my actual home telescope.
That's nifty. The sound effects had me in a Metroid Prime type of vibe. I felt like I was playing a Metroid game. I needed to scan some artifacts in a space station or something.
Yeah, that was a cool. The music was cool. I'm a fan of like dramatic music for stuff like that. And then I've been showing a lot of her lately. I want to show her again. A little bit of Astro Alexandra, great science communicator, talking about extreme life and extreme places on Earth and in space. That's one of those things that like gives a lot of credence to the fact that there likely is life in the somewhere else, just in this solar system, because we're finding examples of life at the bottom of the ocean that doesn't get any sun. We're finding examples of life on the side of the space station and stuff like that. So we're learning more and more about life. I remember in the like 8th grade learning that life needed these 5 things to survive. One of them being sun, and
Oxygen, probably.
Yeah, oxygen. Something about disposing of waste. Life has to dispose of waste.
Yep.
Is that true still? That probably is true.
Yeah.
But not sun or not oxygen or life. Um, that isn't a that is not a requirement in some circumstances. So anyway, here's Astro Alexandria talking about that. Check out her channel, like and subscribe. She does a lot of good stuff. I think she's on TikTok as well.
Hundreds of lakes underneath Antarctica. Hundreds. Like under all that ice. In fact, scientists think that 15% of all liquid fresh water on Earth is in lakes under Antarctica. So obviously, scientists had to go get samples of them. Lake Willans is like right here, and in 2013, scientists drilled through 800 meters of ice and took a sample. They found 3,900 kinds of microbial life. Okay, and then right here, this is the Ross Ice Shelf. It's a giant sheet of ice, and they drilled through that. This is what they found. Crustaceans and 20-centimeter long fish. Hello? These animals are surviving under the ice shelf. They're surviving in extreme environments. And you know where else has underground lakes? Mars. You know where else has water under sheets of ice? Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. Which is why scientists think that these places are the best bet for finding life outside of Earth in the solar system. Because aliens don't have to look like this. If this was on Mars, that would be an alien. That would be extraterrestrial life. I'm a Mars lake life believer. There are
extremophiles, bro.
How about a Mars shrimp, Mars fried shrimp platter, fried Martian shrimp with a little coconut breading? That's good stuff, man. And some Red Lobster biscuits.
We were talking about this in the airport, how life pretty much has to organize in the face of entropy.
You think the Martian shrimp tastes saltier naturally? Kind of doesn't.
Maybe it tastes rusty, but that's bullshit too. That Mars isn't red and rusty. So, yeah. But yeah, life, man. I was literally at my in-laws' house like an hour ago, and they had this crusty old like backyard pool that no one swims in anymore. And I was walking up the back steps with the dog, and I look over the stairs, and there's hundreds of tadpoles in this crusty old pool. And I'm going, extremophiles, man, extremophiles.
Heck yeah, don't go swimming in there. What's up, Jim Frog? Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. You're almost in time for our report on contact in the desert in Palm Springs. Let's go ahead and do it.
Heck yeah, I'll go back to screen sharing the pictures, and I'll just pick up where we left off, and then for each person, we can. How does that sound? We didn't really plan ahead. We just said we're going to recap it.
Yeah, let's just let's go through the pictures. Then let's go through the.
Then we'll go down the schedule because there's some speakers that we saw.
Yes, we're going to tell you about the speakers. First, Dial.
Yeah, our good friend Myron. Myron was one of the early interviews that we put up on our YouTube channel. It's great to meet him in person. Myron's really sweet, and we enjoyed listening to those interesting lectures and then chatting about it afterwards. Simulation theory, AI hypothesis, all that good stuff. So shout out to Mr. Myron.
I can't think of anyone better to talk to about that stuff than Myron, because he has temporal lobe epilepsy and lives on multiple different planes of reality. So he was, and he's the nicest guy ever, I gotta say. He's as nice online as he's nicer in person than he is online. And, he was kind of a rock star there. Everyone knew him, so it felt nice to know him too.
Heck yeah. Here's Miss Yvonne Smith, who we've also featured an interview on our channel. Yvonne Smith is a hypnotherapist who specializes in helping people who have experienced abduction phenomena, getting to the bottom of their lost memories, basically.
Yeah, and it was really nice to meet her in person too. She's like just a nice lady. She got a really sweet and warm vibe to her, and we got to see her speak. Might as well talk about that now. What'd you think of that one?
That was a pretty interesting speech. So Yvonne founded an organization called CERO, C-E-R-O, Close Encounters Research Organization. And it's basically a, informal or semi-formal network that experiencers use. Communicate with each other, keep tabs, keep up with each other. It's not something that I don't really know a whole lot about the organization. I'm not in it, but it's doing a good thing for the people that are involved.
It's from what I understand, it's a support group for abductees or quote unquote experiencers. Her presentation was interesting. I did enjoy it. It made me think about stuff, but this is sort of my theme of the show. I need to see stuff to believe stuff. Not that I didn't believe what she was talking about. And I'm not trying to, anyone who's listening who's a quote unquote experiencer, I want to experience, So, but it was all about that. It was all about, her job as a hypno-regressive therapist and the cases that she's worked on and stuff like that. So, yeah, I want to believe. So,
yeah, and it was cool to meet her in person.
For sure.
The sun was, we should have faced the other way or something in that photo. The sun is
She
really
was
bright
saying
tonight.
that. She tried to say that, I think, but it's all good.
Sorry, moving onward. Here's us and Chris Bledsoe. We did go to the Chris Bledsoe presentation, but I think we snagged this picture maybe the day before out in the hallway at his booth. And I did get him to sign his copy of his book, which I bought. I bought this book last year, actually, and don't tell the Bledsoes, I still haven't had time to read it. But I've seen Chris on the Danny Jones podcast and on some other podcasts, so I'm familiar with his story. And it was neat to meet him in person. Really sweet guy.
Yeah, he has a weird vibe to him, like a strange presence. He does this sort of thing where when he sees you, he looks you right in the eyes and then he touches you on the shoulder and he says, he seems so like into you, like being in his presence. It's very disarming. And it's like, he's like so happy to see you, even though he's never met you. It's weird. But
very charming fellow.
Yes, and his presentation was interesting. He brought up like his son. His son introduced him. Then his other son came up on stage and gave him a hug. And this was the first time his son had like come out publicly as like being an experiencer of these orbs that Mr. Bledsoe experiences every day, apparently, according to him, allegedly. And so that was interesting. It felt a bit churchy, but I guess that made sense because it was 9 a.m. on Sunday morning when we saw him. So I'm glad we were able to go.
Yes, it was an interesting presentation. Very much about his family and history and about his experiences leading up to this.
For sure. Have you ever heard of this book that Jim mentioned, Alien Love Bite by Eve Lauren?
No, I haven't heard about that. So thanks for the recommendation, Jim. Alien Love Bite by Eve Lorgan. We'll keep that on my reading list. Gets so long, but I'll add to it. I'll add that one too.
And Jim, we're going to answer this question. Mike and I have both saved this question that you asked, the interesting impacting material you came across there. We have not discussed this in depth. We saved it for the show, so we'll get there, my friend.
Yes. Moving onward, let's see. Here's us and filmmaker James Fox. James is such a hoot. He's always grinning and smirking and just having a good time. It was neat to hang out with him.
Yeah, he was everywhere. And that time, like, I just kind of nabbed him and was like, Mr. Fox, can me and my friend take a picture with you? He's like, yeah, sure. Then I bumped into him in the coffee line one time, talked to him there. That was cool. But the coolest part was when we went to his the premiere of his movie. That was
the program.
Wild.
In fact, bear with me here. I'm going to pull up a trailer of the program if you want to blab about the movie for like 30 seconds.
Well, I'll blab about the experience of going in. So we go in there, mildly chemically enhanced, and we had a long day. We saw 4 or 5 different presentations that day, and we're like, you want to go see this film? And this has been, you haven't been able to watch it. It's been behind a paywall. It's coming out on Amazon Prime and a few other places, I think, for free in July. But we walk in there and it's just a full theater basically. And he's there and you're watching this UAP phenomenon. Like basically the way it was produced was incredible. It was so intense and hype, and like it's showing all this like fast-paced things from different clips from the news and from interviews and things that it was amazing. It really was.
In fact, the commentary that James went up and spoke very briefly before hitting the play button for the screening that we attended, and that was his insight, was that this was the film that he shelled out. Well, he said he put it on a credit card at the time, but he spent the big bucks to get a like the sound produced. He had an orchestra recording and got a big sound engineer to do it so that it would rumble, appropriately when played in a movie theater for a theater release, and rumble it did. So let's watch the 2-minute trailer real quick, and then we can comment on the character.
In 2017, the New York Times published a story exposing a secret government program investigating UFOs.
That story was kind of a catalyst for a lot of things that have happened since. Members of Congress started to ask questions.
Instruments report there is something there.
There are flight characteristics that we can't explain.
UAPs are unexplained. It's true. They need to be investigated.
Here we are having a hearing where just a few years ago, we didn't even acknowledge that these things were real.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
You're telling me people have come forward claiming firsthand knowledge of craft of non-human origin?
That's correct. We have sources who have asserted not only that there have been crashes, but there have been crash retrievals.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they human or non-human?
Non-human.
I'm sitting here today because the American people are being lied to.
We are the American government, and we are open, and we're going to be open about this.
What has been revealed:
non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity.
Is only part of the story.
The pressure's on. The Pentagon, the CIA, they're going to have to answer the mail.
Some are risking everything.
Have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life?
Yes, personally.
To uncover the rest.
What is being done to verify the assertion that the U.S. government has spaceships of non-human intelligence in their possession?
That kind of revelation unearths people's beliefs.
I would go to jail to say things that I've been exposed to in the program.
The program.
That was one of the coolest vibes of the event for me, because like it was just packed and everyone was like cheering and stuff. It just the energy in there was great while he was premiering that show.
And it was well produced. It was Hollywood production
really
values.
Well.
The audio did rumble when like you were in a theater, and it was a good point you made, Dave. I went and tried to watch this last year when I saw James Fox on a podcast. It has been behind a paywall, and right now, I think he said it's going to Amazon soon. But we got a fairly exclusive viewing of that movie. So
we did. That was neat. Who was the guy? They only showed him for a second. The hacker guy that got in. That I said was a mantoid.
Gary McKinnon. So Gary McKinnon hacked into NASA. Shoot, I guess let's talk about the movie a little bit here. So, like, if you've been following the show, Dave and I follow this disclosure, any type of official disclosure stuff. But when you see a movie like this that has passed all these, I don't know, it's got all these official people appearing in it. Sometimes you wonder if it's not part of a controlled narrative, controlled slow drip of information when you're selectively getting shown very particular things. And I've noticed just in the last few years. But let's take an example, Dr. Hal Puthoff. I've gone from thinking that this guy was some sort of, enlightened or insightful outsider trying to spill the beans, trying to shed light on these things. I might have thought that a couple of years ago. Now I don't wonder if he's not one of the kingpins that are controlling the whole, what gets out and what doesn't get out. Because there's certainly things that are getting out that they want to, I think. So, sorry, that was rambling.
No, I'm glad you said this, because it kind of is leaning in towards our final opinions of the event. But they're showing all these clips from News Nation, from CNN, from Fox News. Okay, I get like, you know, suspicious legacy media vibes from all that. Like, I don't believe anything they say on those channels. You know, I'm sorry. Everything that comes out on any of those channels, I'm like, and even the ones under them too. I don't care. MSNBC, CBS News. I don't give a shit. When it comes out on one of those ones, I automatically ask, like, I try to check my biases. I try to check their biases. I try to like see what's the angle here. Like, I do not believe them. So it was really quite exciting to see like the compilation he put together of basically UAPs being talked about by our government. And I don't know if that's part of the psyop or not, and that's what I walked out of there thinking that it was. But it's still exciting.
I'm the same way. I sort of watched the film in two modes. One was strictly entertained by the high quality footage, the serious sounding interviews, and the flashy titles. Okay, this is cool, whatever. The other part of me says, I don't trust any of the institutions that people defecting from. I'm not sure how defecting they really are. You know?
They're bouncing around and stuff. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Anyhow, and not to discredit the hard work that James Fox did.
No, awesome movie.
Yeah, he's got another one coming out about the Varginha incident in Brazil, which is going to be bonkers.
So didn't he already do one of those? Like, I thought he has one. Maybe he's doing a new one.
You're right, actually. Maybe
I don't know. Maybe I saw a different Varginha Brazil one without him. Either way, I've seen a couple about that. If you haven't looked into that, that's the Brazilian Roswell, by the way, guys.
Yes, Varginha. Next picture that we snagged was our good friend Jason Quitt. Jason Quitt's been on the show a couple of times. Great to meet him in person.
Yeah, he's a speaker, longtime speaker at Contact in the Desert. I think he's been there 7 times now. I think since 2017 or something like that. I bought his book, Astral Experiences. This is the new book. He signed it for me as well. There it is. Haven't dug into it yet, but I will. I'm pretty excited about it. Jason's got this type of brain that allows him to basically exist in this space between wake and sleep called sleep paralysis, where he's been able to do it so much and so often that he can, that's the platform to which he astral projects from, both in time and in space. And Jason is a really well presented guy. He does not give me any like BS vibes. And I've personally, this is one of those things where like I've seen myself, I've had sleep paralysis myself, and I can see that like if you worked really hard at sleep paralyzing yourself, you could start experiencing some weird stuff. And his presentation was one of my favorites too. But
yes, his presentation was one of the kind I like to call dot connectors. It connected a whole lot of dots in a good perspective on things. I like presentations like that.
Me too. We wanted to go to his workshop on Monday, but we didn't end up going to any workshops on Monday because we ran out of money, and we wanted to go home early.
We didn't realize the full extent that workshops were like a paid up or a paid edition. But I was able to snag a copy of one of Jason's books as well, and it was great to hang out. His booth was in sort of the waiting area for one of the big rooms, so I felt like we saw him almost every other lecture when we went over there some days.
For sure. I wish we didn't get to hang out with him too much, but I wish we got to. But one of the things about the conference was that Mike and I were staying across the street, but across the street was actually a 20-minute walk.
Yeah, these are big California streets. There's like half a mile probably to walk from one hotel or more even. I don't know.
For sure. And so like after like long days, we'd want to go like back to the hotel and freshen up, and it was so hot. By the time we got back to the hotel, we didn't want to go back over to the conference, and I feel mildly disappointed about it because we did miss a lot of the evening socializing, but like we weren't planning on drinking, we weren't planning on staying up late, So we wanted to get up early and go to the early conferences and stuff like that. So we went to mostly presentations, not a lot of socializing, but it is what it is.
Yep. I'll move onward.
Who do we got next? Good old Jason quit.
Rizwan Burke. He had a really cool presentation.
Yes, the multiverse. I wanted to pull up his because I want to read this book, The Simulation Hypothesis, essentially paralleling reality to what modern day video games look like, even older video games as well. He basically took us through the history of video games and how the different layers of video games can compare to our modern existence in the simulation theory. So very interesting book that I would like to read. Very interesting. I think it might have been my favorite presentation. I'm not sure yet. But I'm planning on sending him a message to see if I can get him on the show. So wish me luck, guys. Very cool guy. Been on the Joe Rogan Experience as well. So check him out on there if you haven't seen him on there. What do you think of Rizwan?
His lecture was fascinating. In fact, I had this little notebook. I scribble stuff down in the lectures, otherwise I won't be able to remember. But he had a super fascinating lecture. That it was a dot connector as well. His was like Jason Quit's in the sense that it connects things you've already heard of, things you already kind of are familiar with, and sheds a different light on it, sheds a different angle on it.
Yes. And so wish us luck about getting Rizwan on the show. Riz.
Yeah, come on the show, Riz. You want me to go to the next picture?
Sure, yeah, let's go to the next one.
Dave with Mr. Paul Hynek, son of the famous Joseph Allen Hynek.
Yeah, what was interesting was I didn't know it was him. I recognized him. But like he was talking to Rizwan, and I ran up to him, I said, "Hey Riz, can I get a picture of you?" And then Paul looks at me and goes, "Have you read his book? You really need to read his book." And I was like, "Oh, no, I haven't, but I've seen him on Joe Rogan." And then I got a picture with Rizwan, but not with Paul. But Paul shook my hand, and I was going, "Who the fuck is that guy?" I was like, "He looks so familiar." And then I looked him up, and I was like, "Oh!" And so I ran over and got a picture with him as well. Real gentleman, really nice guy, really friendly fellow.
Very cool. Moving onward, hey, we made a new friend to support Habitat for Rockhounds. And hey, we saw your question about was it Nick Pope, or you asked about Richard Dolan. We got a picture of Richard on the panel coming up, so we'll answer that in a moment. Jim asked to support Sim Theory. I see a whole lot of NPCs right on the planet with us. That was actually one of the themes of another presentation, or was it Riz's? Somebody's was you can be in NPC Riz's mode or active mode.
No, it was that other guy, the Indian dude, the other Indian dude. What was his name? I forget. But either way, we were. I literally looked over at Mike at one point during the conference and was like, "What do you think the NPC to player character ratio is at this conference?" And I was like, "You think it's 50-50?" I forget what you said, but we were thinking about that all week.
Yeah, that was Riz's presentation, and it's really like a modern it's more like a cultural reframing of determinism versus free will. Are you a player character or a non-player character? It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it got me thinking about the idea of if you are, if you're lost in thought and just going on your random like patterns of behavior, negative or positive, you're kind of in NPC mode. Yep. And then if you're consciously aware, which we all cycle in and out of all day long, when you're consciously aware, you're in player character mode. So we could all be NPCs. And then there are some at times, and then there are some people who are so like bought into the matrix, whatever their own personal matrix is, that they're always in NPC mode. And we did meet a few of those at the conference.
And that's funny because I think that gets to the meat of both Dave and I's takeaways, which we're already sort of discussing, obviously, but that gets at what our takeaways for this.
Yep. Who's this fella?
The next picture is a new friend that we made, and a big shout out to the Backyard Professor. He's a YouTuber like me and Dave. He makes videos almost every day covering UFO phenomena. He's a very well-read, well-researched individual. And Actually going to swap screen shares. He shot a quick short with us after the lecture.
Yeah, he's actually got decent following going on too, and he was all over the place getting videos. He even cornered Ross Coulthart and did a short on him as well.
Yep. Yeah, in fact, before I play the little video he made with us, I'll just do a quick scroll. Here he is, Backyard Professor on YouTube. He's got a review of Contact in the Desert 2 from yesterday. Talks about all this stuff day in and day out. I see him in my YouTube subscriptions. Let's find the short. This is I still get a kick out of this. Look, here's me and Dave, right among Ross Coulthart and Whitley Strieber and all these other famous UFO folks.
Yeah, let me move us because we're in the way. Oh,
hey, check this out. I just ran into hoodlum number 1 and hoodlum number 2. We met in the Nick Pope lecture, and so you guys are podcasters, and you do some really fun subjects. What's the title of your podcast?
Yes, sir. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike. This is Dave. Together we host Mike and Dave's Multiverse.
I don't get it. Why Mike and Dave?
Well, we share our interests, wide variety of interests, including UFOs, ancient history, the mysteries of consciousness, all that good stuff. Yeah.
So are you trying to tell me that you guys are well read in all of this stuff?
Not at all, actually.
What?
We do,
Say yes.
what we do is bring people on and we want to hear their perspective. We want to hear alternate perspectives. We want to hear perspectives from academics. We like to platform people so that they can share their message. And that's not what we do.
I'm going to fit right in here. I'm just saying, I'm going to get these guys' contact information, and we are going to have them on the show, and we're going to do some collaborations, aren't we?
We can't wait to collaborate. Check out Mike and Dave's Multiverse. We're basically on every platform. You can find us on any social media, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. Hope to see you there.
Boy, you guys are rocking it. I'm just a low-down YouTube boob. All right, great to meet you, you guys. Thank you.
And hope to meet you guys as well.
You will. I'm not going to let you off this one.
Heck yeah.
Because Bill and Ted were taken. Exactly. I like what Jim said here, too, to ensure we're not in NPC mode. Take whatever news or media you encounter and contemplate if the exact opposite is true, gets the synapses firing. Yeah, I mean, you always want to question reality, I think. And because you might be creating one that's false for yourself or that doesn't align with your values or something like that. So,
Which is actually why I think what Dave and I are doing is important is for more people to get in front of a camera and start hashing stuff out week in and week out with your family, your friends, your neighbors, or just like-minded people on the internet. And that way we're not getting fooled by stuff that they're broadcasting, messages on TV.
Right. And actually, this is where we met Backyard Professor we met him in the lineup to see Mr. Nick Pope.
Yes.
And Nick Pope was a trip. I was really excited to see him. He's on like 40% of the episodes of Ancient Aliens. He's also in like most alien documentaries. Makes me think he's a former British intelligence agent who headed their UAP task force, for lack of a better word. I don't remember exactly what it was called. Brittany, if you could look up what Nick Pope was the head of as far as UFOs for the United Kingdom. But either way, it was part of the experience, right? Is you're seeing these guys kind of do their hits, right? So he did his hits as far as like the UFO UAP phenomenon, but then he went into a subject that's near and dear to my heart that I'm not gonna soapbox you guys about, but before I even say this, I will say that COVID was real. Okay, I'm not saying it wasn't, but we were all lied to like nobody's business during COVID, and it was a really big test for those in power of how much of our freedoms they could take away from us, just how much they could manipulate us. And I watched it happen in real time, and it was really scary. So getting that validated by a guy like Nick Pope and being in a room full of people go like, yeah, was like validating for me, okay? Even though Nick Pope's part of the PSYOP, probably.
Well, and Nick drew a lot of important parallels. So talking about COVID-19 actually has a lot of things in common with the UAP topic, because it has the whole notion of secrets, controlled narratives, trying to direct, the behavior of people to think and behave a certain way. And really the question that was kind of unsettling that Nick brought up, was the point of his speech, was, can we really handle the truth? Are we really prepared for the truth? Could we handle it? If the truth was presented to us, could we really handle it? That was sort of the message that I got. It made you think twice about, okay, if things are really the way that people say they are, they ought to come out with that. I don't know.
Here's the thing is, like, I feel like they could just tell us the truth, and there's so many NPCs out there already programmed that they're just going to keep operating on their program. That's what happened during COVID. Like, you could go look up all of the stuff that they were lying about on the official government websites. You can see that they were lying on the news. And so they were both telling us the BS and telling us the truth at the same time. All you had to do was look at the right place, and nobody could do it. Or not nobody, but a lot of people couldn't. And so it makes me think, if we're talking about telling us the truth, I don't think it matters. I think some people are just going to go on believing nonsense, anyway. So I'm with you, Jim Fry, greatest psyop of all time. But yeah, agreed. I agree with all that stuff, Jim, for sure. I'm with you. This is a weird picture of Chris Bledsoe.
Moving onward. Well, he's standing right on top of a blue stage light. He's standing like extremely close.
No, it was an orb, Mike. It was an orb. Okay. He was summoning an orb right there in the middle of his presentation, and I got a picture of it.
Okay. Okay, Dave. Anyhow, we had a picture with Chris Bledsoe in the hallway as well. Also, we wanted to briefly shout out the Omicron Commonwealth galactic representatives that were present. Maybe they were providing security, or like Jim was saying earlier, there's always an FBI person in there. To be honest, maybe if I was the CIA spook and I wanted to go in undercover, would you expect any of these Omicron galactic people? Like, you think they're all just hardcore alien people? They're all about it. Maybe that's where the actual CIA people are hiding.
No, but not those guys. Except for those guys were like almost the highlight of my whole trip. I wanted to talk to them, but Mike wouldn't let me. I do not think those guys were CIA, FBI. I have a candidate. So apparently there's a game they play at Contact in the Desert. Basically, Guess the Fed is the game.
Yeah.
It would be funny if it was those guys, honestly, because I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but like, it would be silly if those guys were the feds. I have a candidate for my Fed, but he's also like a new subscriber on the show, I'm pretty sure. So I want to say that I think he was a Fed, but I'm pretty sure he was. But hello, friend of the show.
Cool. Moving onward. Here's Mr. Anthony Peak.
Yeah, best-selling author, lecturer, broadcaster, leading thinker in the area of consciousness studies. Author of The Daemon, The Hidden Universe, Is There Life After Death? And I wanted to talk to him so badly one-on-one, but I never got the opportunity. He's good friends with my friend Paul of Perceptions Today, who's a friend of our show. And to be honest, Anthony Peak has been he's been talking about all this stuff like for 30 years that people are talking about at Contact in the Desert as if they just discovered it, orbs, NDEs, all this stuff, simulation, hypothesis, everything. And so I highly recommend checking out his content. You can find him on the Perceptions Today podcast on Spotify. You can also find him just by Googling Anthony Peak and ordering his books. I'm in the process of setting up a meeting with him and talking to him and hopefully get him on the show. So wish me luck there, guys.
His was actually the first lecture that we attended after checking in and getting our name tags. And he talked about common elements between near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, abduction experiences, and sort of the context and the broader cultural history of mankind across the globe. So it was another dot connector presentation.
Yes, and I did manage to snag him and get this picture, and then we were able to talk to him on the way out on the last night. Seems like a lovely British chap. So,
yep.
Yeah.
And we're almost to the end. If not, there might be one or two pictures after this. But this was the panel. This was the last presentation that we attended. That there were a few people that we had missed seeing for the 3 days that we were there. We said, well, we can get 2 for 1 or 3 for 1 on the panel. Let me zoom in.
Yeah, that was the thing about this is there was stuff going on all the time, and we had some friends that were presenting that we wanted to go make sure we went to see them, and then so we didn't always get to see everyone, and we missed out on Linda Moulton Howe as well as
Ross Coulthart.
Ross Coulthart, yeah. And so we saw Danny Sheehan. We didn't see Chris Dolan either, did we?
Nope, or Richard Dolan.
Richard Dolan, sorry. Yeah.
Richard Dolan, second from the right. And the panel was pretty interesting because it was all about disclosure and, whatnot.
It was, and it was, what was fascinating to me was that people would come up and ask them questions, and sometimes it would get awkward because they'd be up there telling their life story and stuff like that and calling out the government and demanding answers. And I'm going to be honest, I think all these guys are in on the PSYOP, bro.
How many of them?
Okay, I've been watching Ancient Aliens for a long time. Okay, okay, I'm not an ancient astronaut theorist. I just like watching all the ancient history, monuments and things that I like. Just it's my mind candy. Okay, but I don't walk away going, "Oh, that was definitely true." And Nick Pope is regularly on there. Linda Moulton Howe is regularly on there. I think Daniel Sheehan's been on there. But I think so. If we're talking about this, because this was one of the themes of Mike and I's discussions during the whole weekend, was what is the PSYOP? Is this the PSYOP? Is Ancient Aliens the PSYOP? Is the new UAP disclosure with James Fox and Ross Coulthart the PSYOP? How many gatekeepers can you count in one photo? Yeah.
I'm reading back through the catalog because this is the last picture of our trove. It's the most folks on a panel. We've already talked about most of the ones we've attended, but I'm just making sure we didn't miss any others.
Yeah, well, as far as this panel goes, it was really interesting. All-star lineup of PSYOP people. I don't know, man.
I thought it was tremendous when Linda Moulton Howe stated categorically that she had been told from sources that there is an actively manned military base on Mars right now.
Right now, yes. And
it was a tremendous moment.
This is no disrespect to Linda Moulton Howe, but she's the one with the sources. She's always got the sources, and the sources told her this, and the sources told her that.
And I read her first book, An Alien Harvest, from 1987 or whatever. I read it last year, the year before. It's a good read. It's a good investigation. I think she starts out as an up-and-up investigative journalist. But by the end of the book, you're in the room with Rick Doty, getting information straight from the horse's mouth, straight from Rick Doty. So I thought, yeah.
And Pat Breeze brings up a good point, because this came up in our discussions a lot. Easy way to figure a gatekeeper. It's the person that tells you that you're wrong and that they're right. I would also even add to that, it's the person who says that they have the answer. Like that, because humans all take a dump, man. We all put on our pants one leg at a time. And when a human tells me they have all the answers, I immediately think BS. They don't even have to tell me I'm wrong. They just have to tell me they know. And then I think BS. PSYOP in the desert. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
well, we're at the end of our pictures. There was maybe one class we didn't talk about a whole lot, and that was the one with the two guys. Sorry, I just closed it. Their names was Ben Hansen and Dr. Doug Buettner. They did like the actual UFO sighting investigations where people would submit videos like from their phones or whatever that they found that they took on a plane. They would extract all the information, take it apart, and figure out, that it may have actually been a balloon that escaped from the nearby town, birthday party or something.
Yeah,
we didn't get a picture with those guys. Yeah,
that was actually interesting though, because there's like people doing actual like investigative work, forensic investigative work on like three different cases, and they ruled one out, and then one was a maybe, and then the other one they said was a UFO, and then they went into their UFO bit. Yeah, Pat, when it comes to Linda, I know she's connected to people. It's just I just love how she, like Mike said, she can so matter-of-factly say some wild stuff, because when she said that moon bases on Mars, some of the other people on the panel were like, I hope they don't ask me about that.
That's part of what made it a fun moment. I was also watching the other 6 people on the panel to see what they were going to react to.
Yeah. But yeah, I've heard her whole story, and she's been really putting in the work for 50 years. So who the heck am I, right?
And just like with James Fox on the other end, if the government is sending people to be in their interviews and the government's sending people to be in their documentaries, I'm not going to discredit the hard work they put into getting those interviews and documentaries still in Linda or James Fox's case. They're still doing their thing.
Correct. So yeah, let's get to the questions, Mike. Let's do it.
Yep. So thanks for sticking with us as we have rambled through our Contact in the Desert recap. We had a blast. We did not really rehearse or rehash. I mean, we unpacked, rehash stuff like on our way out in the airport and stuff, and after the classes. We were going to do 2 questions. Am I remembering right? We were going to do what was a favorite lecture or favorite speaker, and then what was our main takeaway?
Favorite part, generally speaking, and then main takeaway.
Okay. Yeah. We haven't really rehearsed this, so do you want to start with your favorite part, then I'll do my favorite part, then takeaway?
Sure.
Like that? Cool.
My favorite part, plural, was meeting our friends of the show. Meeting Myron in person, meeting Yvonne Smith, Myron Dial, and Jason Quitt. That's kind of why we're doing this show, because we want to connect to our audience and we want to connect to our speaker, our guests. And that was cool to see them speak live and be able to support them, just like they supported us coming on the show. I will narrow down my favorite lecture to Rizwan Vooght, but it's only because simulation theory is like something I'm into right now. And so that's why. And he's a fun guy. That's so. My favorite parts were those. Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Well, I echo your choice. A favorite lecture for me was probably a tie between Anthony Peake and Riz Vooght, which were back to back. It was actually the first 2 lectures that we went to. They were kind of the furthest reaching, and Jason Quitt's was a very similar style in that it was a dot connector, picking up wide reaching range of things. And I agree, it was just a blast to meet everybody and hang out and have a good time. It was a little bit crowded in some of the hallways, got a little congested at some times, but still a good time. Pat Breeze, this is an excellent question. Did you see any lizard people, and how would you know? This is actually going to become a new feature of the show, because we keep our eyes peeled for lizards or maybe even mantoid, mantid type of beings in disguise.
We did have a handful of mantoid moments as well over the weekend. We weren't going to get into it, but now that Pat brought it up, I saw a mantoid. I was very distracted. I don't even remember what lecture that was in. Do you? I just could not. The guy was for sure a mantis being, like for sure.
I remember what the room, because it was one of the rooms we saw multiple lectures in. I don't remember who was speaking, but I think I do remember.
I totally missed that one because I couldn't stop looking at that mantis. But we had a couple of weird little mantoid moments during the. I didn't see any lizard people though. Just one mantis and one fed. No lizards. You might see any lizards?
No lizards, but agreed on the Mantoid spotting. And this has been the inaugural segment of Mantoid Moments on Mike and Dave's Multiverse. Thanks for tuning in.
It's going to be a new thing.
I'll make a bumper for that. We'll play it whenever we have a Mantoid sighting. Mantoids come. I was making notes. We had 3 to 5 Mantoid moments throughout the lectures. The lectures discussed Mantoids.
Yeah, that came up a handful of times, but like that one guy is constant. I'm gonna see him in a sleep paralysis episode. Knock on wood, please, God. But I think that might happen to me because I was very distracted by him. Or her. I don't. Who the heck knows? And so, anyway, before we get on to our biggest takeaway, I wanted to bring up Mike and I's least favorite part because we both are in agreement on this. The shitty hotel that we had to stay at. It wasn't the worst hotel, but we had a funky air conditioner that made a lot of noise and smelled like stinky cheese, and it was really disappointing.
It made the trip affordable. The AC, it wasn't so rotten that we had to like run out of the room, but it was like, it's just a little slight mustiness. They could have freshened it up. It left a little to be desired, but it made it affordable. So
that hotel would have been nice when I was 22, but at 43, it was disgusting. And hey, I did want to mention that one part where we first arrived. We've been traveling all day. Okay, we're traveling all day. And we park, we check in, we check in, then we park out back. We enter the wrong side. We went the wrong way. Yeah. So we ended up going down this really long hallway that had about 400 pictures of Ricky Ricardo and what's her name?
And Lucille Ball.
Yes. And so apparently this hotel they used to stay at and they owned or whatever. So we're winding down this hallway for what felt like 5 minutes. And after about 6 Ricky Ricardos, I turn around, I look at Mike, I'm like, are you seeing this? And Mike looks at me like, he gives me this look like, yeah. And then there was like 4 more Ricky Ricardos, and I started to panic for a second. I thought for sure that was a liminal moment. There was not 10 Ricky Ricardos. It wasn't actually like that, but we were in a liminal space there for sure.
It was really bonkers because if you just walked into the hotel and had a quick glance, glance at the wall, it says, okay, there's a lot of old black and white pictures. Must have old, singers, movie stars. But if you actually pay attention and walk down one of the hallways, it was 99% Ricky and Lucy. There was like one picture of Frank Sinatra, but you had to look really hard to find it. It was in some obscure little corner. They didn't even have Fred and Ethel from the I Love Lucy show. It was like 99% Ricky and Lucy, which was a little bit weird. I don't know. I didn't need to walk down that hallway again. I would walk down outside.
We were in a liminal space there for a second. That's what happened.
Very funny. Jim asked any Nords, tall Nords, monitoring the peeps. I don't think I detected any Nords or tall type of beings. But I think I saw some in my neighborhood last month for sure. So I saw a 7-foot family in my neighborhood last month.
Oh yeah, they were definitely Nords. Yeah. No, I didn't see any Nords. No Nords, no Greys, no Orbs, no UAPs in general, except for on video.
They did a Skywatch, and that's where if we had stayed across the street at the presentation hotel, we could have gone and taken a nap and done Skywatch. But on Sunday night when they did that, we did presentations from 9 to 6. I was pretty much done after that by the time we walked back.
Yeah, same. So biggest takeaways. I'll go first.
Go ahead.
This is unscripted. I've just been thinking about it for a week now. Got into this topic, literally in the 80s when you'd see, tabloid magazines at the grocery store and stuff like, Elvis was abducted by aliens. But then it really, in the early 90s when I saw when I saw Fire in the Sky, the Travis Walton story, in the theater, I think I was about 11. I've been kind of into this topic. Shortly after that, X-Files comes out. It was my favorite show for 20 plus years, right? And so I've been following what we learned. We learned the nuts and bolts of this topic for quite some time. And we learned that the nuts and bolts kind of means, you know, the official story, the main incidents like Travis Walton, Roswell, Rendlesham Forest, Benny and Barney Hill, that kind of thing. And I've been following all this stuff forever, watching documentaries about it. I watch Ancient Aliens in a mildly ironic way, like I'll call it semi-ironic. And I wasn't going to Contact in the Desert to get like some revelatory experience or answers to my questions, because I just knew it's just a bunch of humans. The Mantoids weren't going to talk to me, so I wasn't going to get any answers from them. I really just wanted to have fun at a UFO conference, and I did. But I walked away, and this has been building since COVID, really, but I walked away just certain that that's your mom. I need to hear this story.
Yeah, thanks.
But I walked away from this experience just certain that almost everything I heard there, like official narrative wise, was BS. Like everything we see in the news, like most stuff on Ancient Aliens. There was some speakers there that were very evangelizing, which I don't really enjoy, but not about Jesus, about UFOs. Okay, and I don't. That's not my style. And so I learned from a few. I think Rizwan said this, Jason Quitt said this, Anthony Peake said this, but the answers are not going to come from out there. It's not going to come from a documentary. It's not going to come from a movie. It's not going to come from a show. You're not going to get it from a speaker at a conference. Your answers are going to come from within, from the searching and the seeking you do from within your heart and your soul and your mind. And I don't know what that's going to look like for me moving forward. But again, I never was looking for answers from these people anyway. But that's my biggest takeaway, is that some of this is just for fun. It's literally everyone doing their old hits. And, it's fun. It's fun to see the quote unquote celebrities of the UFO UAP world. But the real answers come from within, and the real information comes from the actual researchers. And there was a few of them there, like Anthony and Rizwan and that kind of thing. So that's my biggest takeaway. Comes from within.
I agree with that sentiment, Dave. I agree with your point. It's if you're looking for deep answers, yeah, that's all right to familiarize yourself with the work of these type of people, but you're not going to get those answers just from going to see them talk or just from reading the latest book.
No.
It's about what you do with information. And it's about what you do with your own intentions in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of. So I agree with that. Moving on to my big takeaway, and we really didn't plan this out, so I'm going to ad lib, but I'm going to highlight stuff that kind of came up both in Nick Pope's talk and in Daniel Sheehan's, and in what they said at this panel at the end. So Daniel Sheehan's the guy in the middle here, and he pointed out something that Dave and I already kind of talked about when we look at disclosure in the media. That when someone gets a book that's authorized by the Pentagon, authorized by the Department of Defense, press department, and goes out and starts doing interviews, and everything they said is authorized to be released, stamped by the Pentagon, that person is not a whistleblower. That person is still operating within the realm of protection and within the institution that is, in this case, the institution that maybe is sending that person out there to disclose certain things. And so Daniel Sheehan was subtle about the way that he said this. He didn't really throw mud or name names, because I think some of those people he's represented, which is a bit peculiar. And I'll go ahead and say Lou Elizondo is the guy who I'm thinking of. We kind of suspect that Lou Elizondo might be a controlled drip, controlled disclosure type of person. And Daniel Sheehan represented him. So it could be the pot calling the kettle black, or maybe that's how they get him in there. They go and say, yeah, this guy's a whistleblower. He needs protection. And they come to find out he's not really whistleblowing. He's still staying within sort of the boundaries of protection from the military-industrial complex. So anyhow, to wind that up, Daniel Sheehan's point was they're faking disclosure. The government is. The only way that we can get something to happen is if we pull a fast one on them and get them to disclose something they don't intend to disclose. They're going to start trickling stuff out. They're going to start saying, all right, we're going to start revealing our secrets. They're in ultimate control of what gets revealed, and they're going to roll it out in this the exact fashion to control people's thoughts and behaviors. And Daniel Sheehan's point was, we just got to try to pull a fast one on them. If we can get some legislation in there that's got more bite to it than what they want to let through, then we can make more demands within the rights of the Constitution. It's a long shot. It might be a bit of a Hail Mary, but if there's anybody working on it, it's him. So that gives me a glimmer of hope. But at the same time, I agree with Dave's sentiment. The true answers come from within. Ultimately, I don't think I have faith that the government's going to come clean about anything. Maybe we can pull a fast one on them. Who knows?
Well, something might have to invoke catastrophic disclosure. We won't get into that right now. But overall, man, I had fun. I enjoyed hanging out with you. I wish we got to hang out with like more in the evening time, but we were just toast, and we ended up back at the hotel at the end. The thing is, the dang place was sold out anyway, so we couldn't stay there even if we wanted to. So
that wraps up Contact in the Desert recap. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and we did get we will be able to score some guests for you guys, some interesting guests. I've been in talks with Hakeem Isler, who was also a speaker. We did not get to go see him, but I did talk to him on Facebook, and he's interested in doing our show. I just wanted to bring something up quick, just show one last thing. Where the hell was this guy?
I don't know. In fact, so Josh Gates was billed as the keynote speaker. I guess because he's the biggest name, he had his Discovery Channel show, and Dave and I went to Dave's house a day early to go to the airport. We watched a few episodes of his show just to familiarize. I don't think I saw him there the whole time.
I didn't see him on the bill at all. There was no opportunity to see him. Also, this is no disrespect to him, but his show was very TV-like. And so when we were watching it, I felt super creeped out because I don't usually watch TV like in the traditional sense. And so I was watching it like, what is this? It felt like a reality show from 2010. But he wasn't there. Didn't see him. So I didn't see George Knapp either. Did you?
No, but I did see Jeremy Corbell once, and he was just sort of burrowing through a crowd in the hallway. I saw him for a fleeting moment, but I'm assuming where there's smoke, there's fire there.
And didn't see him. I thought he was supposed to be speaking, George Knapp. I also thought George Norrie was speaking. I think he did a panel on the first day that we missed, maybe. But I don't remember seeing George Norrie either. Did you?
No, I didn't see him.
Coast to coast. Did you see Avi Loeb? I didn't see him.
He was a virtual one anyway, so he was doing Zoom.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
We were slightly late on the first day because we went to get our name badges instead of going to the first lecture. After that, though, we didn't miss a lecture. We went from like 9 to 6 on the other days.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Doug Buechner. That was the guy that did the UFO picture.
Oh, yeah. And Ben Hansen, who's got some good stuff online as well. Check him out. But yeah, I mean, good experience. Is it worth the money? I say if you've always wanted to go to a UFO conference and you want to go out and do it in the desert, which is probably the coolest place you can do it, I say go. Hey, Jeff, how's it going, man? Looking forward to bringing you on a live stream one of these times. We also wanted to mention let's just wrap it up. We are going to be switching the live stream to 7 p.m. for the summer. Just FYIs, go from 6 to 7. Tomorrow dropping, we've got Cody from East 10 Outpost. Great YouTube channel. Brittany, if you could drop that in the chat. Awesome YouTube channel from East 10 Outpost, Cody. We had a really fun talk with him. It dropped at 6 p.m. Eastern. Got a Cosmic Monday coming up, Mike.
Yep. Chris Buckrell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Backyard Professor. I don't know if you made it onto the stream today. If not, no worries. And if you want to come on next week at 7 p.m., join Mike and Dave. You can chat about what you thought about Contact in the Desert as well.
Yes, sir. I hope you're watching, and we hope to do some stuff with you, do some work with you guys, or with you and your channel in the future. He's one of those one-man bands, right? Like, he doesn't have any bells and whistles or subscriptions or mics or fancy cameras or nothing. This guy just whips out his phone and starts making videos, and this goes to show you don't need you just need to grind. You need to have an interesting personality. You need to be consistent. You just got to be you, right? That's what we try to do.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And Cosmic Summit coming up June 20th to the 23rd. Promo code Multiverse, all caps, for 10% off. Mike and Dave and Brittany will be there checking things out, maybe getting a few interviews, scoring some new contacts. It's going to be really great. I'm super excited to see the Italian research team behind the Caffrey project.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. So looking forward to it.
It's time to dust off the flying. Let's set the flying saucers and simulated theories on a shelf for just a moment. That way we can go underneath the Giza pyramids. It's all at Cosmic Summit at the end of this month. Shoot, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. Dave Fitzpatrick said, like, are you guys getting any rest? You guys have been going at it pretty hard the last month, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down this month. And I was like, don't tell Mike you said that, because he's been telling us we've been going too hard for a while. But we are taking a break. We are taking a 2-week break at the beginning of July, and then we're going to slow things down because Mike starts school halfway through August. I'm coaching a basketball team this fall. But we're still going to be working hard to bring you guys good content, do almost one live stream a week. If we can keep the streak going of dropping one interview a week, we'll do that. But thank you so much for your support, new and old subscribers, to and fro, here and there. We really appreciate you.
Bringing you the latest in global and solar weather, scientific and intergalactic news. It's been a pleasure this Thursday here on Mike and Dave's Multiverse.
Also, shout out Mom in Ontario, Debbie. 22nd of June is her birthday, and I'll be at Cosmic Summit, but I'll be sure to give her a call from Cosmic Summit. She turns 39, even though I'm 43. Because she told me when she turned 39 that she was going to stay that way. So she has.
That's great.
Yep.
Shoot. Oh, the only thing we didn't mention was y'all check out the Y-Files. AJ was on the Joe Rogan show last week.
Dang.
It was a great episode.
We should do 5 minutes on that because it's on the keep the music going. It's on the thumbnail.
It's on the thumbnail, yeah. The Y-Files is the best show on YouTube. And I didn't realize AJ knows Joe Rogan, him and his brother, actually. So they had some history.
Yeah, well, we went back while we were in the hotel, like chilling and winding down. We watched AJ from the Y-Files and his brother, who Joe was friends with, talking about their weed delivery service in California and all the legal loopholes they had to go through. And AJ was a weed dealer. Like, I didn't know that. That's so weird. That is so weird. But the reason why we even went down that rabbit hole was because the day before the trip, AJ from the Y-Files showed up on Joe Rogan, and it kind of broke the internet a little bit because, like we said, it's the best show on YouTube, and Joe's the biggest podcast on earth. So seeing those two worlds collide was amazing. I listened to the whole podcast start to finish, talked about all my favorite topics the whole time I was on the plane. So that was really fun. But then the following night, AJ releases an episode of the Y-Files called The Stone Ape Theory. Or not called, but about the Stone Ape Theory. And it was just perfect timing by the two of them. Obviously they had planned that for weeks or months even, right, Mike?
I think so. I'm going to go ahead and share the Y-Files. I mean, it's 2025. If you're not watching the Y-Files, chances are you must be some kind of normie. And look at that. They had a tremendous Mantoid episode just a few weeks ago.
They did. Mom, Jerry would love the Y-Files. You guys should start watching the Y-Files. AJ's the best. And so, Yeah, and then shortly after that, though, Joe has just been knocking out all these like alt history and UFO UAP guys on his show. He's had Jesse Michaels, who we saw at Contact in the Desert. We saw Jesse Michaels do like a live panel.
And that was a funny one because Jesse's presentation was not actually on a topic. Normally there was like an hour to an hour and a half presentation, then a little Q&A. Jesse just did Q&A wide open for the whole audience because he's interviewed everybody at this point. Somebody asked him, hey, you're big now. You ought to get on Joe Rogan. He was like, oh, we got something in the works. And then like 2 days later, his episode releases. That's cool.
Yeah, check out his YouTube channel if you haven't. Great UFO, UAP stuff going on there. But got AJ, got Luke Caverns from the alt history and archaeology world. Yep. I haven't finished that one yet, but he's got a tremendous channel. And so worlds are colliding, you know, thank goodness for Joe Rogan bringing this stuff to the masses. A lot of us have, you know, the people who have seen this stuff for years appreciate Joe because he's the biggest platform in the world and he brings these topics like right in the forefront. So somebody didn't even know who AJ was or didn't know who Luke Caverns was. Luke's got a tremendous channel about ancient history and alternate archaeology. So anyway, we wanted to make sure we brought that up because it was on the thumbnail.
The Zai Hawass episode, of course, was hilarious and has been getting rehashed continuously. Hopefully the YouTubers are laying off of that now. I feel bad for those algorithm chasers. You know?
But keep an eye on your feed if you want to hear more Zahi Hawass because he literally filmed with Matt Bell, Limitless. Yep. And it's either dropping tonight or tomorrow, another episode or another interview with Zahi. It's only two podcasts with Zahi Hawass. There's Joe and then there's going to be Matt Bell, Limitless.
And I hope that Matt Bell had posted on Twitter, if any fans have questions for him to ask Zai Hawass during his interview, I really hope he answers my question of whether or not Zai Hawass calls the Sphinx on his cell phone. I just wanted to ask that.
Well, he must. He definitely does. He's besties with the Sphinx for sure. Right. He discovered it. So
last on the Rogan rehash from but this is about a month ago now. But there's that Hal Puthoff, mysterious character. He's revealing more government secrets than anyone else ever has. Kind of makes you wonder if he's not in control of the secrets.
Yeah, but seeing those two worlds collide as we were going to Contact in the Desert seemed fitting, wouldn't you say?
It was very neat. Great time to be watching YouTube. There's more good stuff on YouTube than I have time to watch in a day. And to your point from the takeaway, I'm going to try to ease off the YouTube and all the crazy stuff for a little while.
So honest to goodness, that's what I was saying to myself. I need to focus internally, work on my physical and mental health, and stop having my head out in a flying saucer or underground, trying to dig up the ancient past. I still love that shit. I'm always gonna be watching and consuming things about that, but I want to make sure that staying the course. That's being true to me. So let's go.
Thanks for sticking with us. Now we're true to the thumbnail. We covered everything we said we would cover on the title and thumbnail, and
peace out, guys. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jim Fry. Did we miss anybody else in the chat? I don't think so. Maybe somebody from earlier. Sean, thank you, Sean Tester, always supporting the show. Yeah. Look, guys, we love doing this. It's fun. We appreciate you. Good night.
Peace out.